The Daily News Online presents Inside High School Sports. Brought to you by Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. With your host, Alex Brasky and Nate Ryder.
Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of Inside High School Sports. My name's Alex Brasky. No Nate Ryder today as we were unable to come together this week, but you will hear from him later on in the show when we go through another great moment in high school sports history. This time the Leroy 1995 state title football team. So look forward to that later in the show. But first and foremost, we'd like to remind you that this broadcast is brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. At TVFCU, we know members love our low loan rates and our low account fees, but our expert staff is really what everyone raves about. If you are not a member, consider joining and learn why our TVFCU members are considered friends, family, and fans. New members are always welcome. Stop in at 10 Jefferson Square behind Wendy's in Batavia. That's when this pandemic ceases, or at least we begin to reopen Batavia, which I believe is starting today. We are in phase 1, which is good news for the fall sports season. Hopefully by the time that kicks on, we are in full go in terms of society getting back to normal. But nonetheless, we're here to bring you another great episode of Inside High School Sports, beginning with another senior profile segment, this time with Byron-Bergen senior Bryce Yockel. Yockel, the all-time leading rusher in Kalmar Byron-Bergen football history, also a basketball player and a track athlete, so another one of our 3-sport athletes that are going on to the next level. He will attend Baldwin-Wallace University to play football in the fall. So here's Bryce Yockel looking back on his time spent in a Bees uniform.
All right, here with Bryce Yockel. Bryce, obviously your high school career kind of came to a crashing halt, but kind of reflect on how great your time was at Bayern-Bergen and how much you're going to miss it.
It was a great experience. I actually really enjoyed high school. They made it really great. My support system actually there was probably my favorite thing about Byron-Bergen because everybody was around me and everybody was helping and supportive. It was just a great school to be at.
You combined with Kalmar in the fall, but other than that, you were a B through and through. What will you remember most about your time at Byron-Bergen? Obviously, great coaches, great teachers, great administration, but when you look back on it, what will you remember most about your time spent at Byron-Bergen?
Honestly, for me, it was a time spent in the classroom, just because all my friends were in all my classes and we were always finding something to do other than studying and all that. But it was just all the memories we created with my friends in all the classroom.
As I said before, your career comes to a crashing halt. What was the feeling like when that was made official? And how much do you feel you're missing out with your senior season in track and field?
Honestly, it hurt a lot because last year we did pretty well, me and my 4x4 team, and the rest of the track team did pretty well. But this year, we were ready. We came prepared early, so we were ready to grind for the track season.
You did get your first 2 seasons in, and how much solace do you take in that, and how glad are you that you did have a chance to at least put forth some effort during your senior season?
It felt good. It felt good because 4 years ago when I first started, I actually put it in the work to get myself better for my senior year. It felt good to at least do 2 of the 3 sports, especially because I got to play football and basketball because of the sports I love the most.
Now, I'm sure looking back, people are going to remember you most for your time spent on the football field. I believe you're that program's all-time leading rusher, sectional champion, all of that. What drew you to football and what made you fall in love with the game from an early age and take to it as much as you did?
Starting little, actually, I used to watch Steve Smith on the Panthers play, and I always wanted to be a receiver. And then my brothers used to play this backyard football at the park, so I'd always play with them. And I just fell in love with it from there. And ever since then, I've always wanted to play.
Playing at such a kind of a historic program in Kalmar, and when you combine with your school, how enjoyable was that, not only playing at the varsity level, but for a program in a community that had so much support for the football program?
It felt great. It always felt like I had someone that was always going to help me out and someone back to what I said about how Bayern-Bergen had a good support system, Calmon was just the same way, especially because it was such a big football school. I always felt like I always had people around me to help me no matter what was going on.
What are you going to remember most? Are you going to remember that sectional championship season when you surpassed as the all-time leading rusher? What are you going to remember most? Is it the relationship with the teammates? What, when you look back on Calmon football, is going to stand out to you?
The memories I made with the team, practice in the locker room, I'd probably say the things I remember the most is all the things we used to do before practice, or our pregame things, rituals that we all did, and then always just being around with people I loved, because it was a big family. And I think that's the thing I'm gonna miss the most, honestly.
Now, reaching the heights you did on the football field, what do you think was the most important thing for you along the way? What did it take to become a successful varsity football player?
For me, I thought it was all just about teamwork. I have all the records and a great thing going for myself, but I think my biggest thing was just trying to bring home that block. And we did the 1 year, and sad we couldn't do it another year, but that was my biggest thing that drove me, was just doing it as a team and really thriving for the school.
Moving forward, you're going to attend Baldwin-Wallace. What are you looking forward to most there, and what led you to choosing Baldwin-Wallace?
I'm looking forward to the new experience, especially because it's a higher level of play, so there's a lot of better people, so it's more room for me to see that I need to improve. Things that led me to Baldwin-Wallace was I really liked the area. I kind of wanted that city feel, and they also have a really great sports management program that's pretty appealing. And I'm just excited to finally get out of New York and experience some new things.
Now, how much contact have you had with the team and the coaches there, knowing how difficult it is to communicate during these tough times?
They've also done a good job, actually, with communicating with me, especially being out of state. I actually didn't get to do an actual visit there. I had to do a virtual tour, and then I actually I drove down around and just looked at the campus from a distance. But they've been doing pretty well, and I've had some contact with my teammates. We're all pretty bonding from a distance, so it's going good. It's going good.
Now, what have you been doing during these tough times, knowing that you can't really go to the gym, you can't work with other people? What have you been doing to keep your skills sharp and make sure you're ready to hit the ground running here, hopefully in the fall?
So me and my stepdad have been purchasing some small gym stuff. So I've been turning my back barn into a gym, small gym, and I've been running around town a little bit to keep in shape. So I've been getting to work in, but it's not as much as I used to back when the gyms were open.
Now, how much are you chomping at the bit to get back out there with maybe some of your teammates from the past, or some of your teammates from the future, and maybe some of your future coaches? How much are you looking forward to getting back to normal and getting back to your normal daily work schedule?
Oh, I'm itching bad for it. I've been waiting for it this whole quarantine, and I really can't wait for it to be over so I can finally get back out with my teammates and really get back to the grind.
Now, what are you looking forward to most once we hopefully do return to normal here? What's the one thing that's been on your mind that you really want to do?
Going out to eat. That's definitely my biggest thing. I'm sick of making my own food. I really want to go out there and eat some Jimmy Z's or some Olive Garden, all the good stuff. Trust
me, I heard that about 10 times over.
Oh, yeah.
Now, before we conclude this interview, as a successful high school athlete in more than one sport, kind of leave us with some food for thought for future athletes. What does it take to succeed as a high school athlete in 3 different sports?
Never doubt yourself, and always know that there's room for improvement. So you always keep grinding and never stop, and always try to be your best at all times, even on and off the field.
At Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union, we have members of all types. From Blue Devils to Knights to Dragons and Leprechauns, we have solutions for all their financial needs. We not only provide checking and savings accounts, but also loans for vehicles and student loans. Our members also enjoy exclusive benefits through our scorecard rewards programs. To become a member, you can stop by our office in downtown Batavia or give us a call. Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union, local, personal, and owned by members.
Kicked offside on a line drive, bounces down to the 30. Going to be picked right up there by number 26, goes to the right inside, breaks it inside, breaks outside, and drops. And that is the end of the game. The final score, Leroy 37, Turner 23. We're going to take you back to the radio station 7BT, and we'll be back.
The teams will right, Nate Ryder here with the Daily News with another one of our great moments in high school sports history. This week we're featuring the 1995 Leroy football state championship team, the only state championship team in football history at Leroy. We're here with the one and only Zach Dillow, the incomparable Dave Shaughnessy, and just one of the greatest all-around guys you'll meet, Eric Geiger. What's up, fellas?
Hello. Hey. How we doing?
All right, so let's see. We'll start with Zach Dillow. You know, what was it about this team? No other team had won a state title. What was it about this team that led you guys there?
I tell you, at the end of the day, I think we had a bond. We've been playing together since we were young kids, and you know, we had a good crew together. And it was just one of those times where kind of everything fit and all the pieces came together. We had a lot of guys, honestly, at the end of the day, who probably could have played at a lot of other squads who were, you know, even backups at that time, as you could tell by some of the other teams who played behind us that did really well. But I mean, we just had a crew that all came together and everybody fit well. The coaching staff put everybody in the right positions to play. And, you know, I mean, between some of the powerhouses like Dave Shaughnessy and some of the speed like Eric Geiger and some of the other boys that aren't here, Brandon, Dave's brother, Ryan Novak, Justin Osher, and some of the other guys who really could, you know, make plays happen. We had a great season and everything gelled and fit really well. I mean, you know, it's one of these magical seasons that you really always think about and you wish could happen. And lucky for us, you know, we pulled it all together and made it all happen. And at the end of the day, it was something to come back to, and it's nice to rehash.
When did you guys know how good you guys could be?
No, probably when we were a JV team and we went undefeated and like crushed everybody, and we knew that team was going to be good for the next couple of years, and you know, we just made it happen. Everybody gelled, and like I said, you know, we were like a family, and that was the best part. Everybody loved each other, and you know, it was just good to be good guys, and everybody, you know, just gelled.
I think the misconception with this team is everybody thinks you guys rolled over everybody, but you know, you had the loss to Caledonia. Sorry to bring that one up. And, you know, you had a close one with Dansville, I believe, a close one with HFL, I believe. You know, Eric, what was it about those games that kind of, do you think, made you guys be able to make that run?
Well, I mean, they certainly prepared us for just the realization that we weren't going to roll over everybody. And, you know, they were tough games. And to be fair, Dansville always brought it. HFL always brought it. Obviously, Caledonia with what we have with them, there were no surprises there. We knew we were getting into some tough games, and we always persevered. You know, there were some adjustments that were made initially after that Caledonia game. I think that was like third game of the season, something like that. I wasn't even in the starting lineup. So, you know, those times, they humble you. And they prepare you, and honestly, when you get pounded like that or challenged like that, it only makes you play harder. So it just really, those kinds of things set you up for success, brings you back down to reality, and then there's really no surprises coming into it. So postseason, we know that anything could happen because some of those games we got out of with the skin of our teeth.
You know, you mentioned, I think it was you who mentioned that Wellsville game. You know, you guys almost lost to Wellsville. Wasn't it a saving tackle by Brian Fulmer, Eric?
Yeah, well, you know, so it was that. And we had been preparing for their fullback the entire week. Mm-hmm. So what happens when you key on an opponent or a specific player, and all of a sudden they're not the one that shows up? Got to go through an entire game plan, you reconfigure, and we actually did that really well. Like Andrew Palladino was the king of making adjustments. He'd come out after halftime. Oftentimes you'd see that like our first half would be feeling out a team. If we're not going to blow them out in the first half, you'll probably see like those end results, that 19 points or whatever it is that comes out of the second half because of those adjustments. So yeah, we weren't prepared for that Nick Biglietti kid.
Zach, Eric touched on it, but talk about that coaching staff and what Brian Moran and Andrew Palladino and all those guys, how good they were at getting you guys ready.
Oh, man, I tell you what, it was lucky. And, we can mention those three. We had a great coaching staff. And those three, we had a lot of good guys going out to scout our games as well, too. Don't want to leave out Coach Bonaquisti and a few of the other guys who went out and scouted our games for us ahead of time, too. But in games, as Eric said, I mean, there's nobody better at making adjustments than Coach Moran, Coach Capitelli, and Coach Palladino. I mean, Coach Palladino, I mean, what a great guy. I mean, he knew how to fire you up and get you ready before the game, but really knew how to, like, adjust things at halftime as well. Obviously Coach Moran and Coach Capitelli were more pushed towards the offensive side of the ball. And, Coach Capitelli, he gave you a lot of key reads running into these games. You could see a lot that was going on. I mean, I tell you what, me being the center and Big Dave being basically the guy who ran the entire offensive line, I mean, at the end of the day, Dave would see a lot of things that would happen that were pointed out to Coach Capitelli by us during the week leading up to the game. And Dave would kind of give me the elbow nudge during the game and be like, hey, we saw this. You see what's going on? So we again, bringing it back to the point where we had, played together so long, we had almost an unspoken language at that point where Dave would give me the elbow. We already knew across the board what we were already doing because we were prepared by the coaches. Yeah, and we already knew it, and that was the thing. I mean, we were all together. We were one unit, which was amazing. So,
good preparation.
The big boys, like Dave says, I mean, we had great preparation. The big boys got it done on the front, and the running backs and Justin at quarterback came through on the back end. I mean, we were 3 yards in a cloud of dust sometimes, and then we were 55 yards, with Geiger skating on the outside a few other times. But that's all thanks to, the preparation that was laid out by Coach Moran and Coach Capitelli on offense. And then, on defense, again, Andrew Palladino, he just adjusted play to play. So,
Dave, after that semifinal close one to Wellsville, you guys went out and I think it was 3 straight shutouts in a row. That's almost unheard of at that point of the year. How were you guys able to do that?
Again, just great preparation. We just knew, the offenses that we were going to go against, and we shut them down. We had good game plans and just grind the ball and take them, don't let their offense on the field. That was our good defense. Ground and pound and keep them off the field.
Yeah.
Low-scoring games and shut them out.
Yeah, and you had 2 of the best in the backfield, 2 completely different style runners, like you said. Eric, what was that like for you? You both had over 1,000 yards that year, and I think you actually led the team in touchdowns. I think Nosey was second. But, just being in that backfield and running with him and, the kind of dynamic you two had.
It was great. I mean, Ryan was – he's actually – in public, he's pretty shy. He doesn't really speak too much. But he's awesome, and he's a really funny guy. He's great in that sense. So it was a pleasure being back there from a personal level. But it was great. I mean, he's smash mouth. In a lot of cases, for me, would be a second fullback plus the line I have up front. It's almost impossible to not be a successful running back, given the talent that I had, that speed that it's hard to talk about yourself, Nate, like that.
We can't forget too. We had Derek Spink at fullback too, who had an amazing season as well.
The finals and semifinals.
Really, with all those threats that I just mentioned, it was hard not to be succexful. And it was a good bunch, a fun bunch, and we had some serious go-to plays. For example, the 45 counter that was like my most successful play.
My favorite too, because I got to light somebody up.
I loved watching it.
It was super neat. But I mean, if you think about the dynamics of that play, you've got Derek and Ryan running right, and you got to honor that, at least for the first couple steps. So you get people committed, and now you got Dave pulling through and me following behind with an open field. You get a couple steps on somebody, and you got this guy chugging along. like you almost don't want to tackle me because you don't want to go through him.
Zach, like I said, you guys are rolling over people from the sectional final to the Far West Regional to the semifinals. How confident were you guys going into that game, that state title game?
Oh man, I don't know. I gotta be honest, Nate. It was our first run through there. I mean, we had really, never been this deep in the playoffs before. I mean, not to jump ahead, I guess at some point, I think we were a little more confident the next year, which maybe shouldn't have been the case. But that being said, in the '95 season, I don't think we were spelling ourselves at that point. I think we were really putting in the hard work and ready to make some moves and put the pressure on. I mean, we didn't know what we were getting into. I mean, it was all new territory for us. So,
Zach, you brought the fuzzies back when you were talking about our journey there because it was so new to us and
new adventure.
Right, and I just want to say, in case, because maybe no one said this, but like the stakes were pretty high because of how small our town is and how emotionally wrapped up everybody was. Like it felt like
a good point.
It felt like we had additional teammates. Like anywhere we went, like during that like 6 or 7 weeks, however long that postseason is or was, and then you get to a point, and that's not pressure like failure, refuse to lose kind of thing. That's just heightened emotion, because Leroy's with you, but then as you go along, being outside of the class of Caledonia, we're at those games and we're showing up. They're walking off as we're coming on, and they're cheering us on, and it was like the craziest thing. Like your rivals become your brothers in arms, and it was amazing, and it uplifts you, and like we just watched them win, so we got to show up too. It adds a little element of swag or like reinforcement in what you're doing there.
From what I remember, Dave, of that game, like Zach said, you guys felt each other out there in the beginning, but then you guys really punched them in the mouth, took the lead, and never gave it up. On the sideline, what are you guys saying when you you kind of have them to their backs to the wall?
Just put your boot on their neck and just finish it off. Just gotta just run over them, do what we do best. 3 yards of pop and run the clock out.
Zach, you guys were you're in control going into halftime, and I believe they returned the opening kickoff for the second half for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Cut the game to, I believe, 3, somewhere down there. What are you guys thinking when that happens after you're in the locker room for 15 minutes going, all right, we're 2 quarters away from a state title, and then they come out and blast you just like that?
Yeah, just gotta keep bringing the pain, man. Like Dave said, put your foot on, put your boot on their necks. I like that. So yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, that was it. That was it, man. That
was our best. That was our best move.
Yeah, we our special teams play wasn't gonna put us back, Nate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as I say we're cautiously confident going in, I think by halftime we felt pretty good. That definitely, it definitely gets you as fired up as they got fired up. So they were excited about it because they're back in the game, but we're like, oh no, man, this isn't time. It's not time to go ahead and let this happen. It's time to go ahead and put our foot on the gas and put this game away. And
now, Zach mentioned it, Eric. I believe it was the next drive, your first drive of the second half, or maybe the second one. You guys went about 80 yards, got that lead back up to double digits. How important was that, and what where was the confidence at that point? You're toward the end of the third quarter, I believe.
Like when I think it's hugely important. It's a momentum shift. It's a reminder to that team, hey, we're in control over here. It also like reminds our own guys that this is our game. We win in this, and it's important. I think anytime that you answer back and answer heavy and do those kinds of things, you're trying to take the breath away. You're trying to like not give them any moment of opportunity where they think that they're still in it. Mm-hmm. So it was huge, and like every touchdown we scored was huge because we ran an ISO. Like we stole it from them. They could not stop us from that. And like Zach was saying, like with the with that the special teams touchdown. Like, it was obviously one of those mouth open moments, but there was like so many things had to go right for that. They didn't hammer that down our throats. You know what I mean?
Oh, you got the lead. What do you do defensively just to make sure that you keep dominating?
Put the pressure out up front and play great defense in the back. They were trying to pass the ball there at the end. The guys in the back stepped up. Geiger had a beautiful interception at the end there. That really made a big turn. What was that, third, fourth quarter? That was it. Then we went down and scored after that, and I think that was it.
Yeah. Zach, is that when you start taking it all in a little bit, and you're up 17 in the fourth quarter? You start looking around, saying, "I'm in the dome, and we're about to do this."
I mean, it wasn't so bad at that point. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't so bad, man. We felt good about ourselves at that point. I think, obviously, again, like Dave said, I mean, it took a little pressure in that second half, and then in that third quarter to make sure that we locked it in. And I don't think we ever gave up, though. I mean, it was always full speed, and at that point, we were making sure. And again, even for us, it was our first time, but not just for us, for the coaches, it was their first time. So they made sure that there wasn't any pulling back on the gas at that point. So everybody was pushing it to the final minute, and when we could finally kind of rest back and say, "All right, boys, I think we finally locked this game in." Like Dave said, that the pick from Eric over there put us over the edge, and I think that's when that breath may have been exhaled finally. But
what kind of bonds did this? I mean, you guys were close to begin with, obviously, that whole team. And I got to mention, you guys are all a bunch of freaking characters. Like, everyone was different. There wasn't one same dude on that team. But,
made us better.
Yes. And Eric, just talk about the bonds that you made for life by being able to win this state title.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's really hard to describe because how you describe a relationship that you'll always have for the rest of your life. Looking at Dave right now, brings back so much that I really don't think that that there would ever be a moment where I'd feel like a stranger in your presence, to be honest.
Absolutely not.
Obviously Zach being a brother and living in his parents' home for as long as I see him regularly. And all the other guys, I know that it just wouldn't be like, we wouldn't have missed a step.
There's all the great coaches from Pee-wees all the way up to seniors and JVs and Sully.
Yeah.
And it was just, we had 20 great coaches throughout our lives, and they all had a little part in us being great.
Yeah.
Agreed. Dave's dad, I remember when we were kids. Yeah.
Right.
I tell you what, he was the toughest coach I know. He was he would run the gauntlet and let us all hit him the entire time when he had the ball.
He loved that. He'd do it down if you let him.
I bet he would.
Get back together one of these days and let him run through the gauntlet.
Yeah.
We'll love
It might be different now, big guy.
Like I said, it was 25 years ago, and we've lost some friends from that class, and you lost at least one teammate, Nike Steyer. And it's really hard to think it was that long ago. Zach, does it feel like yesterday?
Oh man, I tell you what, just having this conversation now. I mean, I literally, we talked about it beforehand, but like every play I can remember now coming through, and now, especially with a little bit of a memory jog from you guys, it's like, oh man, I tell you, even the faces. I remember you guys when we were kids, and I mean, obviously, God bless Ike and his battle and everything that he went through. I mean, I can only imagine. God bless his family for it, and he was one of the toughest kids I ever met. But yeah, man, time flies. I mean, look at us all. We all, we're all grown-ups in 25 years, man. I just, that's a smack in the face to even hear it, Nate.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside High School Sports, brought to you by Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. We'd like to thank the 95 Leroy football team, along with Byron-Bergen senior Bryce Yockel, for joining us this week. We're looking forward to another week of a fun-filled interview show that we do here weekly. We've been pressing along. Even though society has shut down over the past few months, no high school sports, but we continue to bring you the best we can, some entertaining topics to keep you fulfilled when it comes to sports. But once again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Inside High School Sports, and we'll see you next week.